Hey everybody, Rhino here from Rhino Hockey Channel. Alright, finally gonna get this NHL playoff prediction video done. I know first game starts tomorrow, so make sure to watch that Washington versus Boston game. Washington is the higher seed, so I'm gonna say them first. So just so you know, in the video, I'm gonna be saying the higher seed first. Alright, other than that, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps the channel out, helps me out so we can get more videos done and just have better quality stuff. All right. Other than that, let's get started with my playoff predictions for 2021. Now, let me start off by saying this is just my personal opinion, not how it's actually going to go. I could be 100% incorrect in this. So, take it or leave it. It's my predictions and that's it. Let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen if you have something different than me. Let me know. I want to hear your predictions too. All right. First series, Pittsburgh versus the New York Islanders. This time I have Pittsburgh winning in 6. Islanders have not looked good of late, and I don't see this changing anytime soon. I mean, the Palmieri Zajac trade has not worked out thus far. Who knows? I mean, maybe it might, but it has not. Pittsburgh's looked like a much better team. They end up winning that division, and I don't think many people picked them to win that division. Make the playoffs, yes, but not win the division. So they have played very well. And honestly, they played well with Malkin not having a great year, out a lot with injury. Crosby has had a good year by his standards. He's had a great year by most people's standards, but by his own standards, a good year. So there's that. I mean, the biggest problem for Pittsburgh right now is both their goalies are technically hurt. We'll have to see if either of them actually make the first game or two. If not, that could change a whole lot. But just at looking at these teams face value wise, I would say Pittsburgh in this one. And I'd say it in 6 just because, honestly, it could be less games than that because the Islanders have been that bad of late. All right, the second matchup of this division, the East Division, Washington versus Boston. Now I have Boston winning in 6, and this is based off of the injury issues Washington is having currently. I mean, technically as of now, Tom Wilson's not on the injured list, but he took a nasty knee-on-knee hit the other day. I'll leave that to you to have your own opinion about that. Ovechkin's been out quite a bit. Expected to play. I mean, Kuznetsov and Samsonov, who's supposed to be our starting goalie, are both out on COVID protocol for the second time this year for violating COVID rules again. And they just, I don't know. Oshie's currently injured technically, but supposed to play. So I think this is a team going into the playoffs that is a bit more beat up than Boston is. And Boston's been a really hot team of late. So if that carries over, then I see Boston winning this one in 6. Could be even less depending on how many injuries Washington truly has. But as of right now, I'd say that because you got Tuukka Rask, who is an amazing first, second, third round goalie. Come finals, that's where we have an issue with Tuukka Rask. But you got a rookie goalie for Washington. So that could either translate to an amazing run where he's unbeatable, or it could translate to he looks god awful, he needs some more seasoning. So for me, with rookie goalies, I generally lean towards the second option there. There are exceptions, of course, but I'm leaning towards the second one just because of the team he'll have around him with all the injuries and such. So there you go. All right, next one. The Central Division winning Carolina Hurricanes versus the Nashville Predators. Now, I'm sorry, Nashville fans. It's been a good little run to get into the playoffs after god-awful start to the season. And yes, I know Juicy Saros is a good goalie and probably will win some games for him. But Carolina has been a very good team this year, and I just don't see them losing to Nashville. I don't. That's why I'm saying Carolina in 5 because they have such a more overpowering offense. I mean, if Nashville can get some of those guys who have done jack squat all year, like Johansson, or Matt Duchene, to actually do something, even Eric Holla, for God's sake, all of them have been underperforming all year. Phil Forsberg has not had as good a year as he has in years past. Victor Arvidsson has not had as good a year. But the nice thing is it's playoffs now, so it's technically a whole separate season. So maybe they can change it, but as they played this year, I would pick Carolina every time. All right, on to Florida versus Tampa. This is going to be the funnest series. It really is. I know you can see I'm picking Florida in 7, and that's just because Tampa has been all right. They've done okay against Florida this year, but Florida has been the better team in the matchup so far this year. Now, both teams have been missing guys all year. Florida still has the big knock of no Aaron Ekblad. That hurts still, in my opinion. But that can be remedied pretty easily if their defense can coalesce around each other and their goaltender. That could happen. Now, this is going to be a big matchup between two Russian goalies, I think. Bobrovsky versus Vasilevsky. And honestly, I think with Kucherov and Stamkos being back, that might give Tampa a boost. But the real question is, Kucherov hasn't played all year. He's coming back from hip surgery, a hip surgery that is very hit and miss as to how players come back and play. So, we'll have to see what he does. I mean, Stamkos is Stamkos. He'll probably still score a goal his first game back. That seems to be what he does in the playoffs when he comes back from injury. But he's also very injury prone, so he may leave again right after that. So, hopefully not, but this is going to be a fun matchup one way or the other because these two their last 2 games of the year were pretty rough and tumble, so let's see how this goes. All right, anyways, I'm picking Florida in 7 just because, you know what? Tampa won last year. Florida needs something. They've had a great year. They've overperformed. I've underestimated them all year. And of course, now because I'm picking them, they'll probably lose in like 4. I mean, that's one downside for Florida is they don't have the experience. I would say they lose in the experience area heavily. But sometimes that doesn't matter. All right, on to Colorado versus St. Louis. Now, I think St. Louis is going to make this a close series. Yes, I'm picking Colorado in 6, but I think every single game is going to be a 1-goal game. I don't think there's going to be any blowouts in this series because these two usually play pretty close games. But I'm still picking Colorado because, you know, I picked them at the beginning of the season, and honestly, I don't see it changing. I really don't. I mean, the McKinnon injury is a worrisome part right there. Hopefully, he can be back at 100%. Hopefully, they're just holding him out as a precaution, since they had already clinched the playoffs. But it didn't matter if they won the division and the President's Trophy. They did, even without him. They're still a good team, even without McKinnon. So, there you go. Hopefully it goes that way, because honestly, I want to see Colorado do well. St. Louis, you won last year. I'm sorry, St. Louis fans. I'm not knocking you because I don't like your team or nothing like that. It's just, I think after the year you had, I just don't see you beating Colorado. I don't. All right, the next West matchup, Vegas versus Minnesota. I'm picking Vegas in 5. And I'm going to explain this as best as possible. And in the simplest terms, Vegas is more experienced. Minnesota, they have some playoff experience, but their main scorer this year, Kaprizov, has never played an NHL playoff game. And his first playoff series he's going to be matched up against Alex Pietrangelo every time he's on that ice. And you know they're going to have, I don't know what line out there, I don't know, because I know they have some injuries for Vegas, but he's probably going to be seeing a whole lot of Mark Stone and a whole lot of Alex Pietrangelo on that defense. So, the big question will be, who does Vegas play in goal for this series? But I think Minnesota has had a good year, but I think that it's going to be Vegas in this series. All right, next matchup is between Toronto and Montreal. I'm picking Toronto in 5 because Montreal has had a terrible second half to the season, to be honest with you. And Toronto is just a much better all-around team at this point, I think. I mean, they have depth issues with forwards, but their defense is better this year, and if they play Campbell, I definitely would pick Toronto, but if they play Anderson, I still think it'll be Toronto. Maybe more games, but I still think it'd be Toronto even then. I mean, Carey Price is supposed to be playing for Montreal, but he is coming back from injury. He hasn't played in a few weeks now, so we'll have to see how he plays when he comes back. So, in my opinion, I think it's going to be Toronto in 5. All right, Edmonton versus Winnipeg. I'm picking Edmonton in 5 because same thing for Montreal as it is for Winnipeg. Winnipeg has been terrible. I mean, they got some of late. They got some good news in that Nikolai Ehlers is starting to practice on his own again, which means he's not ready yet, but who knows, maybe he might push for a late first round appearance, which could make a difference maker if it goes that far. But the way they've been playing of late, I find it hard to see that. I mean, it's hard for me to pick Edmonton too because they're not a good defensive team and their goaltending is very suspect. But Hellebuck has not had a good year for Winnipeg either. I mean, last year he definitely a Vezina winner last year. This year, I wouldn't even say in the top 10 of Vezina this year. He's been that bad. But that's just my opinion. I mean, he can still turn around. It's not like he's an older guy. He can do that still. But it's been a down year for him and a down year for this Winnipeg team. At least the second half. Especially with that losing streak. Alright, now for round 2. I'm just going to go on. So, I'm picking Boston to win their series in 7. Florida to win in 7. And then Colorado winning in 7. And Toronto winning in 7. I think Toronto is better than Edmonton for sure. Colorado, Vegas, that's just going to be a fun 7-game series. And honestly, I think either team could come out of it, but I'm going to pick Colorado. Then you have Florida versus, who did I say they were going to play? Carolina. And honestly, I think it'll be a fun, close series, that one too. It'll be a lot of running and gunning. But I think Florida will have a little bit more to hold out towards the end. And then you got Boston versus... who did I say they were playing? Boston versus... I'm at Pittsburgh. There we go. Boston versus Pittsburgh. Alright. So, let's see. Yeah, I would say Boston for sure, just because I think they have more of the physical advantage, and that I think Pittsburgh will have a hard time stopping that first line, and I think Crosby could get shut down fairly quickly. But at the same time, Sidney Crosby, so who knows, he may come out on top of that one still too. But I'm picking Boston. On to the conference finals. I am picking... So the way that I understood they're doing it is once they get out of the divisional matchups, which is at the round 2, the conference finals will be based off of where they finish in the final standings, which would mean Boston being the lowest at the 10th spot is where they finished, Colorado first, then Florida and Toronto in between there, Florida finishing one spot ahead of Toronto. So Colorado and Florida would get the home ice advantage in these series. So Colorado, I would pick to beat Boston just because I think Colorado has way more depth. And honestly, I think their goaltending is better at this point. If Grubauer can keep playing the way he's played all year and is healthy, that's the big thing. I mean, I think it'd be a fun series, but I do think Colorado overall, especially if McKinnon is healthy and Colorado's offense is healthy, I think they'll win. They'll probably want to kill Brad Marchand, but they'll probably win. Then I'm going to have Florida beating Toronto. I am sorry, Toronto fans. I know this is the closest you got to the finals since the early 2000s. I know. And I'm sorry not to pick you. I really would like to, but I think Florida just has a far more deep offense, and they have better goaltending, I do believe. So, I mean, I think Matthews will probably have a great series, but if Florida finds a way to shut down Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, what other offensive weapons do you really have outside that? I mean, you got some of the older guys. And I think they're going to play their butts off trying to get people like Simmons and Thornton that Stanley Cup that they want before they retire, especially Thornton because it's probably his swan song year. So maybe they pull it off that way just because of that. But I'm still thinking Florida. I just really think they have the far better offensive depth at this point. So we have a rematch of Florida versus Colorado in the finals. And I still think Colorado's going to come out on top just like they did back in 95. Wait, was that 95 or was that 97? Maybe it was 97. Yeah, it was 97. But anyways, I still think Colorado's going to come out on top. I don't think they're going to sweep them like they did the first time these two met at the finals. But I think Colorado in 7. I think it'll go a distance because these two teams have really good offensive depth. They're both about equal in the defense. Goaltending, I would lean towards Florida if Bobrovsky is playing up to par that he has in the past. I would say Florida has the advantage there, but Colorado's no slouch there either. So I'm just picking Colorado because they have the more experienced offense, and their defense is a little bit more experienced. But I would say definitely Colorado in 7. So I'm picking Colorado for a Stanley Cup. So, yep, there you go. There's all my predictions. So, let me know in the comments. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What would you change? What is your list of your predictions? Let me know in the comments. All right. Other than that, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next video. Bye, everybody.